Have you ever observed that the folks who talk the most aren't usually the ones who are most respected? What if I told you that the real power is not in chasing, begging, or explaining, but in what you don't say? In a world when everyone is consumed with proving themselves, reacting, and getting acceptance, the man who knows how to stay quiet is untouchable. His composure makes pompous people uneasy. His self-control earns respect, and his presence communicates more than any words ever could. Today, you'll learn how to use your quiet as your greatest strength. The Stoic secrets that no one tells you about power, control, and self-control. At the end of this video, you'll know why saying less isn't a sign of weakness. It's the secret to getting respect, getting opportunities, and taking charge of your life. Number 1. Never chase. Let them come to you. Fear is what makes you chase after people, success, or fame. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing. Fear of not being seen. But chasing is not a language of respect. It is a language of desperation. Seneca famously said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." When you chase, you waste your energy on things you can't change. Instead of going after things, the Stoic turns inward and uses his strength to master them. You go from having too little to having too much when you stop chasing. People start to realize that you're not trying to get their attention anymore, and it changes the mood right away. Your calm and silence draw others to you. As soon as you stop chasing, people will start to move toward you. This is because power always draws attention. Epictetus said, "Don't try to make things happen the way you want them to, but want them to happen the way they do." You start to live in harmony with the flow of life when you stop trying to get things done. When you are calm, present, and thoughtful, your serene control earns you respect faster than any desperate chase could. When you chase, you're saying without words, "I need you more than you need me." And nothing makes you less present than being needy. Stoicism says that wanting things comes from being attached to them, and being attached to them comes from being afraid of not having them. But the truth is that you can't lose something that was never yours, and you don't need to be compelled to get what you want. Epictetus once stated, "The only goal in life that matters is freedom." Freedom isn't found in the chase, it's found in serenity. The more you chase something, the more you become its slave. You give up your feelings, your attention, and your self-respect. But when you stop chasing, you get all three back. You stop letting things outside of you dominate you and start to control what's within of you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The quality of your thoughts determines how happy you are." The man who chases lets his mind run wild, always wondering, overthinking, and worrying about what other people think of him. The Stoic, on the other hand, is more concerned with what he does than what he says. He doesn't say, "Why don't they see me?" He wants to know, "Am I becoming someone worth noticing?" Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The modern guy seeks everything: success, affirmation, love, and finds himself tired, lost, and without a clear path. But the smart person chooses calm over chaos. He puts his energy into things that matter, like his growth, his discipline, and his purpose. Zeno of Citium, the man who started Stoicism, realized this reality from his own life. He didn't go for what he had lost after the shipwreck. He didn't fight it. Instead, he embraced it and rebuilt from the inside out. He remarked, "I had a good trip when I lost my ship." That is the heart of Stoic power. When life takes away what you were chasing, it is not punishment, it is redirection. People start to miss you when you stop chasing them. Your energy shifts. Your quiet speaks louder than their words. They start to think, "Why did he stop chasing me? Why is he so calm?" That calm certainty has a draw that is stronger than any words or arguments. Seneca remarked, "If you can stop a crime, you should." The crime in your life is not respecting yourself and always going after things that don't value you. If you keep chasing, people will think that your attention is cheap. But when you calmly pull away without becoming angry, You remind people that your energy is a gift, not a right. And here's the paradox. The instant you stop looking for what you want, it will find you. When you let go, your mind becomes quiet, your actions become purposeful, and your energy becomes strong. Epictetus said, "If you want to get better, be happy to be seen as foolish and stupid." In other words, don't mind the quiet. It's acceptable to walk away. Don't feel like you have to explain yourself. The man who is misunderstood but doesn't care is stronger than the man who always attempts to establish his worth. You stop giving people and situations energy that you never had control over when you quit chasing. You start to draw to you things that match your stillness, not your need. You stop saying, "I need this," and start saying, "It will come if it's meant for me." That's not being weak, it's being smart. Chasing shows emptiness, but stillness shows mastery. So quit chasing after people who leave. Stop looking for approval that makes you feel bad. Instead, go after your peace, your purpose, and your discipline. Let your quiet do the talking. Your absence should show them how valuable you are. The Stoics knew that power isn't something you chase, it's something you wait for. The lion doesn't chase, it waits. The oak tree doesn't move, it stays still. The intelligent man doesn't ask for help, he builds. And when you get to that level of tranquility, when you finally stop chasing, the world starts to change around you. You cease being the hunter and instead become the thing that everything else revolves around. Number 2, never beg, stand on your principles. Begging kills your self-respect. It is the silent admission that you need someone else's approval to feel good about yourself. When you start begging for love, forgiveness, attention, or a chance, you give up your power. You say that what they have is better than who you are. And once you give up that control, it's almost tough to get it back. People can tell when someone is needy, and neediness is a sign of weakness. Stoicism says that a person cannot ascend while seeking validation. Seneca once said, "A wise man is happy with what he has, no matter what it is, and doesn't want what he doesn't have." Being content doesn't mean being lazy, it means knowing what is actually valuable and what isn't. A Stoic doesn't stop trying to improve or succeed, they just don't give up their dignity in the process. He doesn't give up his self-respect for short-term benefit. He knows that begging is never a way to get power. It's a sign of despair. When you beg, you show the world a basic truth, that your pleasure, peace, and sense of self are all based on what others think of you. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus Aurelius said. You will discover strength if you understand this. When you ask for something you can't change, you give someone else your power. The Stoic, on the other hand, focuses all of his attention on himself. He controls his ideas, feelings, and choices and lets the world change to fit him. A Stoic man does not ask for respect. He earns it by being honest and consistent. He doesn't beg for love. Instead, he grows it by being honest and deep. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He lives in a way that he doesn't require it very often. There is no doubt about his strength. People are drawn to him not because he wants attention, but because he is worthy. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Begging takes away freedom. It comes back when you stand up for what you believe. When you don't beg, your quiet speaks louder than any argument. It shows that you are sure, confident, and calm. It says to the world, "I am enough. I am whole. I don't need your permission to be here." This is the energy that draws attention without asking for it, earns respect without forcing it, and quietly makes people who try to control or insult you feel uneasy. Fear is what makes people beg. They are afraid of being turned down, being alone, or missing out. But the Stoics say that dread is always caused by being attached to things you can't control. Seneca said, "A poor man is not someone who has too little, he is someone who wants more." You cease wanting things when you stop begging. You understand that nothing can take away what is genuinely yours, and that what left was never meant to stay. Zeno of Citium, the man who started Stoicism, said that people should live in conformity with nature and reason, not with what other people want. The man who begs goes against this rule because he lets outside forces control him instead of following his own moral code. When you stick to your beliefs, you are in line with the natural order of strength and self-respect. You do things on purpose, speak carefully, and have a strong presence. Please means I need you. Silence means I choose myself. One takes away your energy and the other gives it back. You take back the space that was inadvertently given up when you stop begging for acceptance or validation. This is why people are drawn to the man who doesn't bow. His calmness and assurance are hard to find. The Stoics knew that life is full of surprises and isn't always fair. But begging doesn't fix problems, it makes them worse. Marcus Aurelius stated, "Don't do it if it's not right, and don't say it if it's not true." Begging is not right or true. It changes how much you are worth. You show a power that can't be taken away when you do the right thing and stick to your beliefs, even when you lose or are rejected. Self-sufficiency is what makes a Stoic strong. It comes from making a life where things outside of you don't control your peace. You make your inner fortress stronger every time you reject to plead. You don't have to do what other people want or think anymore. You have a magnetic pull that naturally draws respect, adoration, and real connections. So keep in mind that pleading is only a way to show weakness. Strength comes from being quiet, respecting yourself, and sticking to your beliefs. Stand strong, work on your character, and let the world see the power of a man who needs nothing but gives everything. The person who sticks to their values never gets desperate because they have already found the one thing worth having, themselves. When you learn this, your quiet is no longer empty. It is full of power. It turns into the unspoken language of power, influence, and unwavering respect. The man who never begs is untouchable, magnetic, and sovereign in his own right. Number 3, never explain. Let your actions speak. When you explain yourself too much, you waste your energy attempting to convince those who have already made up their minds that your decisions are right. When you explain anything, it might be a sneaky way of pleading for approval, understanding, or validation. It takes away your presence, your power, and your peace of mind, just like begging does. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." To put it another way, words are cheap, but actions cost a lot. People care more about results than reasoning. When you explain too much, you lose the strength that comes from being mysterious and consistent. When your acts may have said a lot, you let people question your reasons. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond to it." You can't control how other people react. Your behavior, your honesty, your attention, and your discipline is what you can control. When you do things based on conviction instead of trying to convince others, you save energy and earn their respect. You don't try to defend yourself against detractors, you just keep doing what is right. Seneca also said, "The mind has the power to be unconquerable." When you always have to justify yourself, you lose that power. Every explanation is a chink in your armor of self-confidence. The man who doesn't explain why he does things protects his energy, keeps his power, and shows that he has a deeper confidence that can't be disturbed by what others think or say. The man who doesn't say anything shows power. When people are rude to him, he goes away. When people criticize him, he stays calm. And when people make excuses, he lets the outcomes speak for themselves. His quiet is unsettling because it says more than words ever could. Self-control, a clear sense of purpose, and unshakable confidence. People know this man is untouchable right away, not because he is loud or violent, but because he doesn't care. Fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood is typically what makes you feel the need to explain oneself. The Stoics say that all worry comes from being too attached to things you can't control. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said that we should live according to nature and reason, not to please others. You live more when you say less. You pay less attention to what the world wants and more to what your own values tell you to do. There is also a subtle psychological effect. The more you explain, the more you give people a chance to argue. But silence is a protection. It makes other people question what they think they know. It makes them fill in the blanks, which is usually good for you, and it keeps you from having to argue all the time. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't do it if it's not right, and don't say it if it's not true." The Stoics' acts are intentional and do not necessitate justification. Your life becomes a testimonial to your principles when you behave without over-explaining. Every choice, every limit, and every word that isn't expressed adds to a feeling of control. People appreciate things they can't change. When combined with honesty, silence becomes unbreakable. Instead of trying to prove yourself to people who don't believe you, work on being a man whose deeds don't need to be defended. Let the quality of your work, the strength of your character, and the steadiness of your mind speak for you. Let your outcomes tell the story. The most important secret is that the less you say, the more freedom you have. You are no longer a prisoner of what others think. You don't have to rely on other people's approval anymore. You are in charge of your choices, your energy, and your life. Once you get the hang of this, quiet is no longer empty. It becomes a thing. It becomes power. It turns into your superpower. Number 4. Silence is a weapon, not weakness. A lot of people think that being quiet means giving in. They think that if a man doesn't yell, dispute, or explain himself, he must be weak, scared, or not involved. But being quiet doesn't mean giving up. It shows that you are in charge. It is the discipline to know when to speak, when to act, and when to let the cacophony of the world fall apart. Every careless word you say can weaken your authority, and every thought you share too soon can give away power. Silence saves energy, keeps your dignity, and shows a quiet strength that no argument or explanation could ever do. Seneca said, "Quality is more important than quantity." This goes for more than just words. It goes for life itself. A man who says less but with purpose puts a lot of meaning into every word. His presence is heavy, magnetic, and authoritative. On the other hand, the person who makes noise shows that they are not sure of themselves. When you learn to control silence, it is the best way to show that you have control over yourself. Think about the lion. It doesn't growl at every shadow or rush after every little thing that catches its eye. It waits patiently, watching and thinking. When it hits, the force is clear. The Stoics agreed with this idea. You have power over your mind, not over what happens outside of it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You will discover strength if you understand this." This inner mastery shows itself in silence. It says that you are strong, unshakable, and completely in charge of how you react. It is not the lack of action, rather it is the readiness for the appropriate action at the opportune moment. Silence also has a strong effect on the mind. People don't like it because it takes away their power. People that manipulate, criticize, or are arrogant use generating a reaction to show that they are in charge. When you don't want to talk to them, they have to face the fact that they can't control your energy. Zeno of Citium, the man who started Stoicism, said that real power comes from being in charge of yourself, not from being in charge of other people. Silence is the best way to use this ability since it lets you watch, think about, and reply strategically instead of reacting without thinking. Marcus Aurelius also said, "The quality of your thoughts determines how happy you are." When you control your thoughts, your silence becomes intentional. It's not being empty or passive. It's a purposeful presence that shows confidence and authority without saying a word. It makes other people change their pace and think about your weight. People listen to you more when you are silent, not because you ask them to, but because your calmness shows that you are smart and strong. The Stoics knew that reacting to most problems just makes them worse. You give up your power when you respond too quickly. But if you don't say anything, you stay in charge of your thoughts, energy, and actions. Your calmness makes manipulators uneasy, annoys egotistical people, and confuses those who rely on provocation. Silence can be a shield, a mirror that shows calmness, and a sword that only strikes when it has to. Also, stillness lets you gather information. You can learn the genuine intentions and flaws of the people around you by watching them without saying anything. You detect patterns that other people can't because they're too busy reacting to noise and other things. This is not just watching, it's being aware of what's going on. Every unspoken comment, every withheld emotion, and every deliberate pause contribute to a broader effect that molds interactions without direct confrontation. Seneca said, "The mind has the power to be unconquerable." You show that strength to the outside world by conquering quiet. The world may try to test you, make you angry, or control you, but you stay strong. Your quiet speaks volumes on its own. It is a language of power, calm, and influence. Silence changes presence when it is used on purpose. It shows confidence when words could fail, power when violence might fail, and knowledge when ignorance might rule. People who master it are never in a hurry, never react quickly, and never let what other people think or do bother them. Silence is the most powerful weapon of the Stoics. It is the shield that keeps your mind safe, the sword that makes your influence stronger, and the signal that your peace cannot be broken. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strategic expertise. You don't chase respect when you move through the world this way, you command it. You don't respond to chaos, you make it. And you do it with a quiet strength that others feel, fear, and appreciate, often without saying a word. The man who knows this is untouchable, magnetic, and sovereign. He commands the world's attention only by choosing when to talk, act, or stay still. This is what Stoic authority is all about. Calm, planned, and completely unshakable. Number 5. The Stoic art of detachment. Being detached doesn't mean you don't care or feel anything. It means you know how to control your own mind. It is the ability to feel everything, think clearly, and act with purpose without being controlled by other people's opinions, situations, or results. It is the skill of being in charge of your feelings instead of letting them control you. True detachment gives a man the strength, clarity, and calmness to deal with the tumult of life. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, knew this principle quite well. He famously quipped, "Now that I've suffered shipwreck, I'm on a good voyage after losing everything in a disaster." He discovered freedom in calamity. He didn't let material losses, what other people thought of him, or the uncertainties of life define him. Instead, he found his worth in his own mind and virtue. The first step toward detachment is realizing that most of what bothers the mind is out of its control. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have control over your mind, not the things that happen outside of it." If you understand this, you will discover strength. We often hurt ourselves by holding on too tightly to things like outcomes, approval, or possessions. We tie our sense of who we are to individuals who might not care about us, or to things that might never happen. The choice to let go of these ties is called Stoic detachment. You know that the only things you can really control are your ideas, behaviors, and values. You can't be manipulated if you don't feel the need to chase, beg, or explain. You don't let other people control how you feel anymore. Instead of desperation, worry, and over-explanation, there is silence, calmness, and self-control. Instead of wasting energy on begging, explaining, or responding, you can now save it and use it to grow, master, and take action on purpose. You are an unshakable presence in life, and that alone is enough to disarm people who need to be in charge or provoke others. Epictetus said this, "It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it." When you detach, you might take a moment before you react. It teaches you to look without judging and to act with purpose instead than on impulse. Emotional minimalism helps you stay calm and focused on what you need to do, even when things try to get you off track. A Stoic man only speaks up when he needs to and stays quiet when he doesn't. Being too quick to respond shows weakness, whereas being calm shows strength. This focused self-control makes you hard to predict, and being hard to predict is powerful. People who try to control or provoke you can't guess how you'll react. Their plans don't work because you don't act on your feelings, wants, or fears. Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Detachment is the cure for pain that isn't essential. By not holding on to things you can't change, such other people's opinions, the results of events, or the short-lived things that happen in life, you save your energy and keep your serenity. Every second you spend worrying about things you can't change is a second of power you give up. Detachment takes that power back and saves it for when it's needed. Being detached doesn't mean being indifferent. A disconnected man cares intensely, but only about certain things. He exclusively puts money into things that match his values. He loves without needing anything in return, acts without feeling desperate, and has an effect on others without forcing them to do anything. His composure and self-control show strength. People might feel this calm power without even thinking about it. They respect him because they know that flattery, threats, or drama won't change his mind. The Stoic practice of detachment also helps people be strong. Life is full of surprises, hard times, and betrayal. A mind that is not attached may handle these problems without breaking. Marcus Aurelius said, "The thing that stops action moves it forward. The thing that gets in the way becomes the way." When you detach, problems may teach you, criticism can guide you, and hard times can make you stronger. The man who learns to let go of things turns life's problems into chances to grow instead of things that make him suffer. Also, being detached makes you more present. Your energy becomes magnetic when you stop trying to explain everything, stop looking for acceptance, and stop going after things that aren't meant for you. People are drawn to how calm, confident, and self-assured you are. When you combine silence with detachment, it becomes a visible force. You do things on purpose and say things carefully. This combo shows mastery, the unique ability of a man to live fully without needing approval from others. Detachment also keeps you from becoming emotionally dependent on others. Other people's ideas, judgments, and manipulations no longer control how you feel. You don't let fear and desire control you. You act based on reason and principle. This isn't simply protection, it's strength. Those that try to upset or annoy you won't be able to get to you. Your balance is still good, and you're still focused on what's important. When you really understand detachment, it makes you a man who is impenetrable, magnetic, and unstoppable. It turns confusion into understanding, anger into calmness, and weakness into power. It gives you control over your thinking, strength in life, and respect without ever asking for it. The Stoic who lets go is truly free, and that freedom is the strongest weapon of all. Number 6. When silence becomes your superpower. When you stop chasing, begging, and explaining, a deep change starts to happen. Your energy is no longer tied to what other people want or think. It is now yours. People can still sense you even when you're not there. Your tranquility is like a subtle earthquake that shakes up the disorderly, disarms the manipulative, and catches the arrogant off surprise. Your silence turns into a language, a force that shows authority, confidence, and self-control without saying a word. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul takes on the color of its thoughts." This is the main reason why silence is your superpower. Your quiet shows how well you have mastered your mind when it is calm, disciplined, and centered. It gives forth strength that can't be doubted. People around you can feel it without thinking about it. They can feel the weight of someone who isn't afraid, wants something, or needs to be validated. Your presence is more than just a physical thing. It becomes energy that compels respect, attention, and power. Silence is no longer empty. It is energy that has been compacted. It feels like the quiet before a storm, a force of nature that is ready to be unleashed, yet is still and planned. It is the unsaid promise that you are complete, that you don't need anything from anyone, and that your tranquility cannot be taken away. People start to respect you in that quiet time, not because of what you say, but because of what you don't say. Your calmness shows a level of self-control and comprehension that arguing and being loud could never reach. Seneca said, "A poor man is not someone who has too little. A poor man is someone who wants more." You free yourself from the poverty of needing other people's approval by not chasing, begging, or explaining. Every second spent arguing, begging, or making excuses is energy wasted. The Stoic turns this energy inward, which makes them stronger, clearer, and calmer. Your silence is a statement. You are no longer part of the world's chaos. You are its watcher, and when needed, its quiet architect. The strength of quiet is made stronger by how unpredictable it is. People are confused when they expect a reaction and don't get one. People who try to control you can't. People who criticize you can't. And people who are your rivals can't guess what you'll do next. Epictetus remarked, "A man is not free unless he is in charge of himself." That mastery shows itself on the outside in silence. It means that your thoughts, your peace, and your vitality are yours and can't be touched, broken, or taken away. Silence and detachment together make something magnetic. When you stop caring about results, other people's opinions, or the need to explain yourself, just being there can have an effect. People notice that you're not there because it matters. They notice that you're calm because it makes them feel bad. You think carefully about what you do, say, and even when you stop. When you master yourself, you become a person whose words and actions have a big impact on others. Over time, silence can also help people respect each other. When you don't react right away, explain too much, or beg for attention, you show the world that your time, energy, and attention are important. People instinctively change how they treat you when you are calm. They listen more carefully, respect your space, and start to copy how calm you are. In a world where people are always fighting, making noise, and needing proof, the quiet man is hard to find, and rare things are hard to resist. Marcus Aurelius also said, "The thing that stops action moves action forward." What is in the way becomes the way. The world may try to test you, get you angry, or change your mind. In silence, you might see problems as tools, criticism as information, and disorder as a chance. When you know how to use it, quiet is not a passive thing. It is a powerful strategic force. It helps you make quick decisions, have a big impact, and save energy for the things that really matter. The last reality is this: when quiet becomes your strength, you don't have to ask for respect anymore. You are respect. You don't try to get attention anymore, it comes to you naturally. You don't respond to turmoil anymore, you make it. Your calmness becomes a tool of influence, your self-control becomes a source of adulation, and your presence becomes a fortress of unassailable authority. Not being there is not silence. Being quiet means being there. Silence is power. Power is in silence. When it becomes your normal condition, you become untouchable, magnetic, and unstoppable. A guy whose power goes well beyond what words can say. The Stoics never chased after anything. They never asked for help. They never gave a reason. They walked around the world with quiet confidence, following their own rules instead of what others said. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus all went through harsh times, betrayal, and upheaval. but they never lost their cool. Because they recognized that being quiet wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of wisdom in action. Life starts to chase you when you stop chasing others. Others will start to pay attention to you when you stop begging for it. Your deeds become your introduction when you stop talking about yourself. So keep this in mind. Don't chase, plead, or explain. When you learn to be quiet, you don't just get tranquility, you also get power.